No, where we, anyways, back to the topic at hand, which is the desktop environments. It's like, let's start transitioning into the Q&As from various people and so on and so forth. Actually, that one's going to be a little long to answer, so we may wind up having to cut weird. This part 2 of question 3, the guy had an older machine and he was wondering if one of the other desktop environments would run better, because unfortunately, he's right about that. KDE 4, or I forget what version Gnome's on at this point. What is it?
Something.
2 point, yeah. They do require a more modern computer to really fully run right. In that you can't run them on this old POS I had in the corner. You can run older.
Part of that depends on the implementation, because I know the like the Linux Mint Debian edition has something like 180 megabyte footprint, which on an older system that might be workable. On if you're using something like Ubuntu or the default Linux Mint, where they have like a 300, 400, 500 megabyte footprint, a little bit ridiculous. But
well, it's not just the footprint; it's the resource. It's just the sheer amount of resources that the thing needs. I mean, I have a little bot machine here that's actually running PCLint pre-07. And it's not on the Wi-Fi; it's on the cabled network for that reason, and other stuff. But that machine is a little 666 megahertz system. So I'm like, I'm not going to even try and run a modern distro on that. It wouldn't. I would have very unpleasant results with that. And so, I mean, a lot of distros make what they call, PCLint calls theirs a mini-me distro, but even then, a modern mini-me is not as stripped down as the old environment that was made for older stuff.
And some minimal environments that exist now.
Right, and honestly, that's the whole point for some of these other desktop environments. I'm not so much I'd argue that for LXDE, or I'm sure I've said that wrong. Or whatever it is.
I've always said it LXDE.
Okay, yeah, LXDE. But some of them are. If you want a KDE-like thing, I would start with LXDE, and if that's not stripped down enough, then move to something like E17. Any thoughts on that? Or
honestly, I don't know. It's been a while since I've used E17, but it felt heavier to me the last time I used it.
Well, that's what I was saying. Start with LXDE. Is that what you're? Go ahead.
Thing is that, yeah, I would say as far as the more popular ones, LXDE is absolutely the best for low spec computers. But there's another one that is also very, very good and better, I would say, than LXDE for low resource, and that's ICE WM.
That's the one I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember. Yes.
Fluxbox is also another really popular one.
To me, I get LXD better than Fluxbox.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's as far as amount of the type of apps that come with it and the ease of configuration, definitely.
Yeah, I would say if you're trying to work with less than half a gigahertz worth of processing power, you should go with the ICE one. Otherwise, if you have at least, if you're in between the 500 megahertz to gigahertz, and your problem is, well, I just have a ridiculously small amount of RAM and other things like that, LXDE would probably be a good in-between mesh in that you can do some more modern things and it does support them well. The only problem I find with these other environments is that there is not as many apps for them, and that they are kind of the underdogs at this point. The more mainstream stuff, yes, but there are going to be some applications you will lose that there just won't be equivalents for. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but I'm having trouble doing it.
The nice thing about LXDE is it's actually, from what I'm reading, it's powered by GTK, so most of the GNOME-based applications should work pretty similarly.
Yeah, so it's XFCE, similarly based on GTK.
Right. Well, no, and that
not.
Right, and that's why I tend to recommend those unless you absolutely have to strip down to something that's stripped down, just because once you start stripping down to that level, you really are having to make compromises. If you just need to strip down, well, I need a little bit less flash so that I'm not overloading the system, you'll still have most of the functionality you need because of those reasons. You're largely going to have the same app base, not 100%, but largely. And for most users, they won't notice the apps they're missing, is what I would argue. And if they're a more power user, they probably aren't trying to do that type of stuff on an older system like that, because they probably have a more powerful system sitting in the corner somewhere else. Not trying to speak ill of anyone here. That's my general experience. If you're really doing those type of high-end stuff, it's just it's more I want to make use of this old machine and not throw it away, rather than it's my only machine and I don't have anything else. But all of us go through periods where we don't have the systems as nice as we would like. Anything else to really add in on that, or?
I did a quick look at the LXDE website. Their system requirements, it says they've tested it on as low as a Pentium 2 266 megahertz with 192 megs of RAM, and it ran moderate to fast.
No, that's the thing. It's a ridiculously lightweight environment.
How much megs of RAM did you say?
192.
Yeah, they didn't even have 256, and it's really hard to get KDE to even play nice under 512.
Oh yeah.
You know, IceWM ran very fast on a machine that I was working with a friend under 128 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah, well, like you're saying, that is a lighter weight version.
I was really surprised that LXDE would run on that lightweight of a system.
No. Well, what's really scary, though, is that we still have computers out there today that don't have 128 megabytes of RAM.
Right.
I forget who it was, but there was somebody that, like, I agreed to basically fix their computer for free, and it was one of those systems. It's like they would have to spend money to upgrade it to 128 megabytes of RAM. And I said, do you have $300? They said, yeah. I said, are you willing to spend that to make this system better? They said, oh yeah. Like, go to the store, buy a $300 cheapie box. It's up jillion times what this machine is. It's like, let's get you off of IE5. Let's move you forward. Because they couldn't even watch a YouTube video on that. It's like they knew they needed an upgrade, but that's. I don't know how they were living with it, to be honest. That's like. It's like these are the people that will never go buy a new computer, and I know those. And now it's like their part two. This is why we started on part two, because part one was asking about Xface/E17. I have really mixed feelings about that environment, to be honest. In that I think it's great for like lightweight mobile devices. But as far as putting it on a desktop environment, I never really saw the point. Or have I missed something there?
It's been so long since I've used anything Enlightenment-based, I'm not even sure. I've seen a couple of videos by Sneaky Linux on it, and it looks interesting. Yeah.
I mean, it's all these desktops look interesting, but
yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's all about finding something that you're comfortable with, that performs well on your hardware, and that you can
and that has the support and has the secondary applications you need and or want.
Exactly.
To be honest, I don't like XFC. Is that the name?
Well, you know, as they're pointing out in their question here, it can't make up its mind what it's called. XFCE, E17. It's like I think it goes by 4 names at this point.
No, XFCE and Enlightenment are two entirely different beasts. XFCE is kind of like a GNOME Lite. Enlightenment is a whole other
I'm,
beast.
wait, I'm thinking of something else then. What's the one that keeps changing its name? Is it the Enlightenment one, or is it the XFCE?
Well, I know Enlightenment they've had E16 and I think E15 and other versions before it. But
that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the way Enlightenment is always, it's the flavor of the month thing. Okay, never mind. I get off.
Anyway, so my experience with XFCE was that it was slower than stock Gnome. And, I mean, LXDE I've had great experiences with. XFCE I've never had that great experiences with. I don't see any real speed improvements.
I think the real... wait, now that I remember what we're actually talking about here, forgive my brain fart, people. But I think one of the problems with X-Face, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce that, but I'm not sure, is it supports 3D backgrounds, in which that stuff is always running in the background whether you're doing a 3D background or not. The idea behind that is you're supposed to have, instead of having a picture as your wallpaper, you're supposed to have like an interactive 3D video like wallpaper thing going on. So the resources for doing that are always in motion there, which can lead, like you say, to a slower thing. I never really got the point of that. If I was going to do something like that, I would just run a background task, but I guess at some point there might be a benefit to really truly incorporating it into the desktop environment. But yeah, my experience with it has been, as a result of trying to implement that stuff standard all the time, it's running slower. Which, then again, maybe I was just running it on a system that wasn't properly configured. I don't know. I didn't try swapping over to Compiz. It was so slow I couldn't stand it. So, I don't know. Okay. Want to do Q1 or Q2 next?
I think Q1 is probably going to take very little time, and you're probably going to be the one answering the majority of it. Unless I'm missing...
Oh, wait, no, never mind. Q1 shouldn't even be there. I should have taken that out. Sorry, ignore Q1.